On Sunday, it was huge disappointment for Leeds, but ecstasy for Southampton. They went out of the Championship and up to the promised land, the Premier League. That was at the top end of the table. At the other end, it's a fight, isn't it? Birmingham, Huddersfield and Rotherham all dropped down to League One. For Plymouth, a sigh of relief because they crack on. They won 13-46. I'm delighted to say the owner of Plymouth Argyle, Simon Hallett, joins us live on the show. Simon, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Simon. It is indeed good to have you. Former owner, Mr. Jordan, is sitting to my right. So, Simon, let's get right to it. Survival, of course, is everything. But now you've had a change of manager and you've decided Wayne Rooney is your man. What made you go for Wayne?
Well, we had a fairly structured process to winnow down applicants and people that we thought should apply. We ended up with a shortlist of 4. The day before our interviews, one of them pulled out. So we were left with 3, all of whom I think were excellent candidates. I think what distinguished Wayne was his ability to relate to people, which frankly surprised me. I'd never met him before. He hangs out in circles that I don't hang out in. And he kind of persuaded us very, very easily that he's a down-to-earth, approachable guy. And I think he's going to be really, really good in the dressing room. He's going to be really good with other stakeholders, whether it be sponsors or, of course, most importantly, the fans. So I think it's that ability that he has to be down to earth, approachable and relate to people. You were just talking a little bit about, squad unity. And that's something that's been really important at Argyle over the last half decade or so. So I think Wayne's going to be instrumental in keeping that very strong.
Of course. I mean, Simon, it goes without saying Wayne Rooney, it seems ridiculous, but I'll say it. Wayne Rooney is Wayne Rooney, known the world over. The man to my right might think, am I right, Simon, he might not interview that well, but are you telling me different, that he came over extremely well and impressed you, even blew you away in the interview?
That's actually the truth. Going into the interviews, you tried to be objective and not have biases in favour of one candidate or the other, but I went into the interviews absolutely not thinking that we would end up hiring Wayne Rooney. He is not like like the media usually portrays him. He's intelligent, he's articulate, and he's extraordinarily likable.
There you go, Simon. This Simon with me.
Yeah,
I mean, is that news to you?
No, not at all. If you would quote me properly, what I've said is he must interview brilliantly, because his track record doesn't tell me that he has the capability of managing at any particular significant level. I don't look at the body of work that he's done at Derby, with Liam Rosenior probably supporting him most of the way through it. I don't look at the achievements at DC United and Birmingham as an owner and say, I would necessarily gravitate towards Wayne Rooney. So then there must be a brilliant interview. It must be a compelling interview, because if you take things in isolation, you don't look at it from that default setting. And Simon himself is the walking embodiment of the sentiment that he must have interviewed very well, because he just told us.
So Simon, what did you see in this body of work that Simon beside me is talking about that you looked at and you thought, no, we will speak to him, because maybe that body of work, there's more to it? What do you think?
Well, we do think there's more to it. Clearly results were poor, and results were particularly poor at Birmingham over the course of 15 games, which is probably not long enough to be statistically significant. The underlying data at Birmingham was also poor, but we know that there were circumstances that made it difficult for Wayne. There were also circumstances that made it difficult at Derby. Most obviously that the place was in administration. And Wayne ended up, I think, having to do more than just coach at Derby. So at Derby, though, he still managed to improve the defence. At DC United, again, limited number of games, but DC United's attack was strengthened. DC United's defence was also more modestly, but strengthened. So we believe anyway that you can't just look at results. You have to look at the impact that a manager has on a team. So you have to look at it, the data, the underlying performances before the manager arrives and afterwards. And, that means looking at things other than just wins and losses.
You're smiling at me. What are you thinking?
Well, I think that's ridiculous, but everyone to their own. I mean, ultimately, Simon has a job to do for his football club. He owns it. He makes his choices. Neil Dewsnip would have known him, wouldn't he, from Everton?
Yes, yeah. Wayne was in the Everton Academy when Neil was there, and they've kept in touch since. Yeah.
It'll be an interesting outcome. I mean, I think you have to to suggest you don't have to look at results. Every circumstance has underlying reasons why people aren't successful. It's the ability to overcome them. Sometimes in adversity in Derby County, sometimes the best choices are no choices. I don't think he did very much in improving DC United on any level, but that's a different discussion. But I think Wayne Rooney, I saw him in the media recently. I think he's growing up as a man. I think he's making that change from being a footballer into being, someone that lives in the real world. And if we can say football management is the real world. And it'll be interesting. It'll either work or it won't.
Of course, but that's the same with any appointment.
Well, yeah, it is. But the orthodoxy of thinking is if you don't, you have to take results into consideration. You have to take results into the thinking process because.
Are you saying you don't, Simon?
It depends on how many results you're looking at. We look at underlying performances on the grounds that any individual outcome is a combination of the underlying performance and randomness, variation, or maybe even luck. So looking at small data sets for just analysing the outcomes is insufficient. At least that's what we believe.
Yeah. Also, Plymouth Argyle, you must have been attracted to some degree by brand Wayne Rooney because everybody knows him. And did you think, yeah, this is going to give us a boost in profile? Of course it will.
It clearly has. Here I am today. But that was not part of the thinking. No, I think we hired Wayne despite the brand profile.
Yeah.
And that's right. Because Plymouth Argyle is a very decent football club. I have affection for it. I spent a lot of time down in Plymouth because one of my girlfriends lived down in Plymouth, so I often wandered around the Hoe.
One of your girlfriends. You listen to this sound.
Yeah, a long time ago, but notwithstanding that. So, and obviously, we played them when I was at Palace. We played them a few times. Yeah. They've been up inside the Championship before. I think they're a very nice, decent football club with decent scale to it. And I hope with all seeming vitriol to one side. I don't want Wayne Rooney to be unsuccessful. I want him to merit the jobs. Yeah. I want him to work for a good football club. I remember going down to Plymouth speaking to Roy Gardner when he was involved with Plymouth. Trevor East is obviously a friend of ours, so I know Trevor. I know he's no longer on the ball with you guys, but I know his affection for the football club. Yeah. So I hope Wayne is successful, and I hope all the underlying reasons that they've made an appointment of Wayne Rooney, because Simon's absolutely right. The focus is the reasons why we're talking to Simon is because of Wayne Rooney. You don't want it to be that way around. Plymouth. Wayne Rooney is the one being given opportunity here. Simon has given Wayne an opportunity. Yeah, it's not the other way round.
So what are the targets for the football club going into next season under Wayne? And incidentally, you might want to consider Mick Phelan, who was just with us moments ago, who would say, yeah, sure, I'd listen to Wayne if he wanted me as his number 2. Anyway, that's another matter. What are your targets under Wayne going into the season, Simon?
We'd like to improve on last season's survival. I mean, clearly we only survived by a single point in the last game of the season. We'd like to move up 4 or 5 places in the league, but we're still going to be amongst the bottom budgets in the Championship next season. So it's going to be, I hope, not as tough as it was last year, but it's still going to be tough.
Do you take inspiration from Ipswich, Simon? I mean, I know Ipswich weren't paupers, but they weren't by any shape or form one of the bigger budgets in the division, were they?
No. We take inspiration from Ipswich. We take inspiration, I think, from anybody who manages consistently to outperform their budgets. So, we take inspiration from the Brentfords, the Brightons of this world as well. Not just Ipswich. And we do look around for, models on which we can model ourselves.
Yeah, I've been through Waterloo Station here on occasion, chatted to a whole bunch of Plymouth fans, and they are good guys who are right behind your football club. Simon Hallett, we wish you well going into the next season when it comes along under Wayne Rooney, and we want to thank you for your time. Good luck with Plymouth. We'll be watching, Simon. Of course we will.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.